I'm Mark Hellenberg, the music director for WOUB Public Media, also the host of Crossing Boundaries. I'm at the 9th Annual Nelsonville Music Festival in Nelsonville, Ohio, presented by Stewart's Opera House in Nelsonville. And I have two of my favorite musicians with me, sitting on the porch of this great old log cabin built in 1850. Catherine MacLellan. Hi, Catherine.
Hey, how are you doing?
I'm great. And Chris Gauthier.
How you doing?
And thanks for doing this. You're going to play a couple songs. And before we get started, you're from Prince Edward Island in the Atlantic Ocean, right?
Yeah, we're just not too far from Halifax, Nova Scotia. It's kind of the closest landmark. But yeah, we live on an island of about 130,000 people, and it's a pretty special place. There's a lot of great music that comes out of there, a lot of traditional and Celtic music, and a lot of songwriters as well. So we kind of, yeah, it's an amazing place to be from, really gentle, quiet place.
There's also French-Canadian influence as well as the Celtic influence on the traditional music, right?
Yeah, well, Chris is an example of that. He's a Acadian, French PEI guy. I mean, it's kind of this mix of the Acadian traditions and the Celtic traditions. It's a small place, so everybody kind of, I don't know, there seems to be a lot mixed influences happening there, so everybody kind of, they're all at the same parties.
You're from another singer-songwriter tradition. Of course, you were surrounded by some traditional music and parties in the house and stuff. But your father was a singer-songwriter, sort of like a Gordon Lightfoot kind of character, would you say?
Yeah, I guess that was his era. You know, he came to public attention in the '60s and played on national television programs across Canada. And met Anne Murray through that, and she did one of his songs, Snowbird, which became, a hit for both of them. And that kind of launched him and her into kind of a bigger, more international career. And my dad never really liked the spotlight, so eventually he kind of snuck out and just was a songwriter. You know, growing up, that's how I knew him. He just sat around the house writing songs, and it kind of informed my lifestyle choices too.
And he wrote a song, Put Your Hand in the Hand, I guess that's the title of it, and Elvis did it.
Yeah, Elvis did that and Snowbird. It's kind of crazy. Elvis did this Canadian album where he covered Gordon Lightfoot and my dad and a bunch of other people. So of all the, it kind of made me feel like my dad was cool. I didn't really, people don't think their dads are cool generally, but that was cool.
And you have Snowbird in your repertoire. How long have you been doing your dad's song?
Just a couple of years. I used to do other songs of his, and people were asking for it, and so I just started doing it at live performances because it felt like a nice thing to share that song, and we do it really slow and not like the Anne Murray version. It's quite different. So after a while, people kept asking for it on a record, and so we recorded it on the last record, Silhouette, and so yeah, now it's kind of, we play it every night, and it's I never thought I'd be doing that.
Snowy man, so cold and clean. The unborn grass lies waiting for its coat to turn green. The snowbird sings the song he always sings, and it speaks to me of flowers that will bloom again in spring. Spread your tiny wings and fly. Take the snow back with you where it came from on that day. What I love forever is untrue. If I could, you know that I would fly away with you. Take the snow back with you where it came from on that day. What I love forever is untrue. If I could, you know that I would fly away with you. That you'll only break my heart again should I decide to stay. So little snowbird, take me with you when you go to that land of gentle breezes where the peaceful waters flow. Spread your tiny wings and fly away. Take the snow back with you where it came from on that day. What I love forever is untrue. If I could, you know that I would fly away with you. Oh, if I could, you know that I would fly.
You said that you read the blurb that I wrote in our local paper about how you guys fly under the radar in this country, as far as like the folk music scene, and in PEI in Prince Edward Island, and also in the national scene, Canadian Folk Music Association. You always win Female Vocalist and Album of the Year, and in this country, you know, I love your music, and I play all 4 of your albums on the air, but a lot of people aren't familiar with your music.
Yeah, I think partly it has to do with Canada having such a national presence as far as the CBC, our national broadcaster. So people from smaller regions can get national attention. So we're from a pretty small place, but there's a really rich music scene that gets focused on quite a bit. So I think that's been it. And we've also been out on the road touring Canada a lot, and it's a little bit more challenging to get down here. You know, there's a lot of visas and you know, paperwork to do before coming down here. So I think I'd like to do more touring down here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Plus you like where you live, so it's probably hard to leave.
Yeah, it's hard to leave. I have a 7-year-old too, so, you know, we never go for longer than 2 weeks, so we kind of have to pick our places to go. And you know, we go every year over to Europe and to England, and that, you know, takes up a chunk of time too, so.
Let's talk about the other song that you're going to do, Louella. That's a song about your grandma who was born in Manitoba, right?
Yeah, my grandmother was born in northern Manitoba and met my grandfather, and they kind of, he joined the Air Force and they traveled around. They had a pretty interesting life. They were both really good dancers. They could do the jive like nobody else. And they had 6 kids. You know, they traveled across Canada in the Air Force, and each kid was born in a different place. You know, it was, it's funny now, my whole family's kind of spread out across Canada, and, you know, when my grandmother passed away, I realized I didn't get to know her as well as I'd like to, so I kind of, I saw all these pictures of her and, you know, things that I'd never really known about her. She liked to have a good time. She was a curler. She played cards a lot, and they traveled around for curling competitions.
And curling is that sport where you slide rocks across the ice, for people that don't know, right?
Yeah, it seems very Canadian. I think it's Scottish to begin with, but
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So they stayed in Prince Edward Island, and that's partly how my roots started there. And you know, I wrote the song just because you know, she's someone that I think in my family, I wish I had honored her more in her lifetime. But anyway, now I get to honor her through this song and a couple others that I've written too. And her name's just really beautiful. Her name was Louella, so that kind of helps.
And you were saying that she was a good Catholic woman, so she wouldn't play cards before 11 or drink before noon, is that right?
Those were her strict rules. No, yeah, no cards before 11, no drinks before noon, and they stuck to it. You know, they never went out of that.
Really?
They liked their glass of wine. They didn't drink a lot, but they always had a glass of wine handy. So.
Do you follow those rules too?
I think unfortunately, yeah, I might quit.
I think yesterday we had a beer about quarter till noon, right?
But it was noon at home, so. Tell me, Louella, tell me where have you gone? Tell me, Louella, tell me where have you gone? Are you walking that golden highway home? Are you walking that golden highway home? Toughest little gal to ever leave the traveled east to watch the rising sun. She's left us now and she ain't coming back this way. She's left us now and she ain't coming back this way. Last time that I saw her, she was smiling. Looked like she had one last game to play. Waved goodbye, said I'd be back tomorrow. Waved goodbye, said I'd be back tomorrow. So tell me, Louella, tell me where have you gone? Tell me, Louella, tell me where have you gone? Are you walking the golden highway home? Are you walking the golden highway home? No one knew for certain she was leaving, but somehow each of us, we did know. When the flood is coming, you head for higher ground. When the flood is coming, you head for higher ground. So tell me, Louella, tell me where have you gone? Tell me, Louella, tell me where have you gone? Are you walking the golden highway home?
highway home.
Well, thanks so much for coming here. This is your first time to Ohio, and the first time, of course, to the Nelsonville Music Festival. So it's been great that you guys could come and visit us. And you're playing all 3 days of the festival, so that's wonderful.
Yeah, well, thanks for being here, and we're really happy to be in Ohio.
Trickle down rain, my window pane, the birds all hiding away. Gotta clean this mess, gotta get some